Welcome back to Studio Time. Today we're going to be checking out the brand new Antelope Audio A41B compressor. Let's check it out. Yeah. So we're calling this an analog automated opto valve compressor, but some of you will recognize this as the famous CL1B, but this is like not just a copy, it is like a reimagined, meaning it's got some unique features about it. This is coming in at $29.95, basically $3 grand. Anyone who's used the original knows that it is an extremely sought after tool. Right off the bat, I can tell. I like this one because it is 2 rack spaces instead of 3. The original is 3. All right, so now we've got it opened up, taking a look at it here. We've got some differences on the front face from the original. A little bit of different language here. Fixed, hybrid, custom. Normally it's like a fixed manual, and manual. So we got custom, hybrid, fixed. The big difference between this and a original CL1B, this has built-in automation on it. So you can have your plugin on your computer that allows you to save your settings and recall them directly to the session that you're working on. There is a connection on the back that is a USB-C. So when you plug this thing in, then it's going to be able to connect to the software, which is going to allow that communication between them. When you do that, if you adjust something on the software, it actually is going to physically turn the knobs on this, which is very unique. I haven't seen that on anything else. I'm very excited to play around and try that. So that is really the big feature here. Other than the classic opto tube compression sound that we love this unit for, you're gonna be able to get that added feature of the automation and recallability with it, which is pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and rack this thing up and get it connected. All right, we're gonna set this thing up here for now so that we can get a good look at it. This compressor is particularly useful because it has a lot of control. And it can compress very hard, taming those transients without getting too thick and gooey, you know, like a lot of other tube compressors, which makes it extremely versatile and very useful, especially on things like vocals, stuff with fast transients. You can compress it a lot, but it doesn't sound overly compressed. All right, let's power this on. Oh, do you see that? Never seen a piece of gear do that. Obviously, the thing that makes this unique is this digitally controlled aspect, which is not on the original unit. So we're gonna test that out. We're gonna connect it. It's got a little USB plug right here. We're gonna find a USB port, download the software for it, and test this thing out. But it was really cool seeing the knobs move. So that's gonna be really cool. All right, so I've got a session here. So we're gonna listen to this on vocals. The way I have it set up is as a hardware insert. So I'm gonna go up here to my vocal lead, and we're gonna go to I/O, and I'm gonna come find my A41B patch point. Before we listen to it, I'm gonna put the unit on bypass. When you put it on bypass, it turns the light for the meter off. If you're not used to that, that's a little like, uh-oh, what did I do? Could be good for A-Bing because, or for just for working in general as an insert, because sometimes you flip it on bypass and if the meter's on, you don't even know that it's on bypass. I would never do that, but some people do that. So we've got gain at 0, attack, we're on the fixed setting, so our attack and release is fixed. And then we have the threshold, I don't know, just somewhere between -20 and -30, 5-to-1-ish ratio on gain reduction here. Let's listen to the vocal as is.
Lying in bed, it's hard to close his eyes. Close his eyes. He had plans to live a different life.
All right, so we're getting 3 or so dBs of gain reduction. The level on the coming out of the compressor is a little bit lower than our uncompressed signal here, so I'm gonna just try and match it a little bit more.
Close his eyes. He had plans to live a different life. It's easier to dream than to live sometimes. Trying so hard to stay
Okay, so our levels are matched a lot better. Again, we're getting just about 3 dB of gain reduction, which sounds really nice. But the fun thing about this compressor is to be able to compress the living hell out of it and it be surprisingly transparent. So let's try that. We're gonna keep it on fixed mode while I do that.
Lying in bed, it's hard to close his eyes. He had plans to live a different life. God knows it's time, but I can't find mine. Running in circles, stuck in rewind.
Yeah. Sounds really, really nice. We're getting around 7 dB of compression. I mean, the meter here between 7 to 20 is a very small amount of space, so that meter is dancing. That I probably wouldn't compress it too much more than that. This particular vocal that we recorded had compression going in. If I were using this, I probably wouldn't do too much more, but it might be fun to just really exaggerate it. So let's go all the way.
Lying in bed, it's hard to close his eyes. He had plans to live a different life. It's easier to dream than to live sometimes.
All right, so that's literally threshold all the way, -40. We're getting in and around 10 dB gain reduction. Just made it up a little bit on the gain. Sounds actually great. Pretty good. It's very, very transparent. Let's flip over to custom, taking it out of the fixed mode so that you can have some more attack and release control on it.
Walking down the street, he feels something that he's never felt before. This freedom that comes with knowing that we'll never stop this train. And some things in life never change. Day by day, he begins to understand.
I mean, the sound is great. I'm super happy with how it sounds. Let's just turn knobs just to get aggressive with it. Let's do like the fastest attack and see what that does.
Walking down the street, he feels something that he's never felt before. This freedom that comes with knowing that we'll never stop this train. And something.
And then let's do the reverse. Let's play around with some slower attack.
Walking down the street, he feels something that he's never felt before. This freedom that comes with knowing that we'll never stop this train. And some things in life never change.
This is one of those compressors that you can basically turn the knobs any direction and it just sounds great. I mean, depending on how hard you're squeezing it, you might have to make it up on the gain. Fast attack, slow attack, fast release, fixed, all sound very usable. I'm compressing, again, the living hell out of it, which I probably wouldn't do that much, but it sounds very, very transparent, very fast, sounds good. The thing that makes this unique, because as far as the unit, it's a TubeTech CL1B copy, right? Sounds great, operations very, very similar. But the unique thing here is the digital control that you get with the USB connection to the computer and then installing the software. So the way that you get the software when you get this device is you have to activate it on the website. So you go to analog.com, log in, activate new device, select the device, download their launcher software, which looks exactly like this. You gotta keep up on the updates. This Antelope launcher, after you download the launcher, it's going to be able to see your device, and if it doesn't, which it should, you can think about as like your device updater, software updater. Then you can go to system here. This is where I screwed up when I got it. And you have to update your what's called manager server. Make sure that these two categories are up to date. So you just click on this, and the way you can tell it's up to date is the button literally is not able to be pressed. And then once it can see the device, then your license will become activated, you get a free 1-year license to control this particular unit just when you buy it. And then there's several different ways to get the plugin after the 1 year if you want to buy a perpetual option. If you're on their subscription, bunch of plugins available on here. And of course you can subscribe for all of those. The A41B plugin is included with the subscription. There's a handful of different ways to go about it. To get the plugin going, you got to make sure your iLok is connected to your account. And then once it sees the hardware, it should automatically get connected and installed, and then you can use the plugin. Next, we're gonna put it on bass. Okay, so we've got it inserted on our bass DI. Now let's pull up the plugin. Okay, so here's the UI for the plugin. Our gain's at 0, our ratio to 2, threshold all the way off. Now, I probably wouldn't do this because I like touching and turning knobs. But if you decide you wanna operate the unit on the plugin, here's what happens.
Walking down the street, he feels something that he's never felt before. This freedom that comes with knowing that we'll never stop this trip.
Very trippy. This whole physically turning the knobs thing is weird. Sounds great. Sounds really, really great. Interesting hearing the bass on this kind of compressor I don't typically use, but compressing it this much, it sounds very, very nice. I think because it's just, you don't hear it grabbing as much. I'm gonna mute the vocals here. All right, let's see what the level difference is without it. Very good. This is definitely going to be very useful on something like vocals and bass guitar. Since we have the plugin, you can do way too many things. I'm not the kind of guy that would do a lot of this. Like, I'm not gonna automate a threshold or a ratio or makeup gain or something like that on a compressor. But you can automate all of the movable items within this plugin. The thing that is useful, and I think is the real draw to the digital controlled part of this product, is the ability to save your settings. We use both digital and hardware is recalls. I just got this sound on the bass. I can now save this, save as. So now I can mess all this up. We could go to reset to default, changes everything, and then I can go back to don't feel right bass. That's pretty cool. Now the problem I can see with this technology is if you have a studio like mine, I mean, if everything's connected USB, I'm gonna be in hell because we're gonna have 5, 10 USB hubs. But if you have a simpler setup or a production setup or something like this can be really, really valuable if you're doing a lot of different writes and production sessions with vocalists and things like that. You can save their setting that you use on their vocal. That would be very, very useful, especially if you're tracking through it. So we're using it on the mix, but if you were tracking through it and you were able to store the setting that you recorded through, big time value. So that's the whole compressor. That's pretty much everything. There's a whole sidechain part aspect to this. If you want to get multiple, you can link them together and do sidechaining. Here's my one note. The touch, knob feel. Knob feel is a little weird. I think because of the potentiometer motors or something. Sometimes it gives me a little bit of sass when I'm turning on it. It like has a reflex almost, it feels like. But otherwise, works great, sounds great. The digital component is pretty cool. Recall, excellent. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you're interested in more details on this, I'm gonna link it down in the description. There's a discount code in the description that you guys can use. Thank you, Antelope, for sending this so that we could do this video. And yes, this song stay tuned. We're gonna have some more follow-up stuff on this song. We're gonna do like a video on the production, and it's a project between my friend Daniel and I. But we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.